let's get inspired by some easy stranded knitting patterns so you can start your journey with stranded knitting. I have a few videos on my channel that are doing really well that talk about stranded knitting, and a lot of you asked the question, where should I start? Which patterns are good to do for a first-time colorwork knitter? So I put together a little bundle available on Ravelry, so you can go check out those patterns that I'm going to talk to you about today all in one place. The link is down in the description box. Also, today's sponsor is Craftsy, because Craftsy does have amazing courses on stranded knitting, but also a lot of other things. Craftsy is an online community that has more than 2,000 courses. You can learn all about knitting, crocheting, weaving, photography, baking, drawing. There's really no limit to what you can learn on Craftsy, and I've actually been a Craftsy user for many years. I recently took the course on entrelac knitting, which was so much fun. It taught me a brand new technique that I had never done and was a little bit intimidated by, but the people on Craftsy are professionals and they really give you all the tools you need to succeed. There are also classes like Knowing Your Yarn or Stash Busting by Clara Parks, who's very well known in the knitting community, and we love her teaching. So if you're interested in learning maybe a new craft or getting better at the one you already know, the sun is coming out to tell you that I have a link right down below that allows you to get a premium membership for a full year for $1.49. The first 1,000 people to click that link will receive this offer, and I want to thank Craftsy for sponsoring this video. That being said, I have a lot of very cool patterns that you can find on Ravelry that are gonna be a sure way to get you into stranded knitting. What should you be looking for when it comes to a easy stranded knitting pattern? I would say that first off, you should go for something that you find beautiful. That's obviously one thing. Second, I would go for a pattern that has a lot of repetitive pattern in it. A pattern that has patterns. You know what I mean? I would go for a model that has a lot of repetitive patterns, so it's easy to follow the chart without getting lost. So don't go for something too complex when it comes to like a chart like this one here. I would not necessarily recommend for a first time stranded color work because it's got a lot of different little bits and pieces, and you have to follow the chart square by square if you want to get it done, which can be a little bit intimidating at first. I would go for something a little bit more like this. Obviously, I am biased. This is my own pattern. It's called the I Got Rhythm cowl, and it's on Ravelry in that bundle, and I designed it especially for people to learn how to knit stranded. The repetitiveness of the pattern within the row makes it easy to learn, and also because you get recognizable patterns. You get a cross, you get a how do you call it, lozenge, a diamond, you get little chevrons. All those things make it easier to knit. In that bundle, I also have things generally that are a little bit at a bigger gauge. Obviously, if you want to start right away with something that has a very tiny gauge like socks or like fingerless mitts that are in fingering weight yarn, you could, but it might be more motivating to start with something at a little bit of a bigger gauge, and or something that has a section of stranded knitting, not the entire project, like let's say a sweater that has a stranded color work yoke and the rest is in stockinette. Another thing to consider is a pattern that will not be changing color too often. You want to concentrate on how to hold those yarns, making sure that you're doing everything correctly when it comes to tension and everything. So maybe starting with something that only has 2 colors is the way to go. Let's dive in. The patterns that I found to be good candidates were, like I said, the I Got Rhythm by Miclo Tricot, which uses DK yarn and or worsted weight yarn. In the same type of pattern, we have the Fair Enough cowl right here, which is another very pretty simple cowl from Home of Cords. It is also a DK weight. I put those beautiful Heli mittens because, like I said, there's only a section that is stranded, and so it can make you feel like you're going through the pattern much quicker. They are really beautiful. They are a pattern by Tina Ku, I believe. They are fingering weight though, but this pattern makes it feel like it would go very quickly. Another fingering weight one that I probably knit as one of my first stranded knitting pattern way back when are the End Paper Mitts by Uni Jang. Those are like a classic for me. They are a classic Argyle type of pattern, very easy to follow because it is very repetitive, and I feel like that's the kind of pattern that you just want to keep knitting one more pattern, one more pattern, one more pattern until the mitt is completely finished. These use very small knitting needles, but you know, if that's something that you enjoy, go ahead. And it's a free pattern. Then, if you love mittens as much as I do, the sun doesn't want to collaborate right now. It's okay. I love natural light. It's December. It's January right now, and it's really cold outside. So when the sun comes in, I kind of want to bask in its glory. But at the same time, I'm filming and it's really annoying. What are we gonna do? Anyway, let's keep going. These are the Speedy Selbu mittens by Skandir Knits. It is a perfect mitten pattern to start your stranded colorwork journey. You knitting around. It goes quite quickly because it is knit with bulky weight, I believe. Aran weight. It's Aran weight. Goes quite quickly. Super nice repetitive pattern. Also, I didn't say it at the beginning, but finding a pattern that doesn't have too many very long floats to deal with is key for practicing your stranded knitting. If you don't have to stop your motion to catch your floats, it goes by so quickly, and that's what makes some of those choices my favorite choices. After that, there's also the Speedy Spoonie that are very similar, and those are in bulky weight yarn, so that will go even faster than the Speedy Selbu. If you're in the mood for a sweater, I feel like the Humulus sweater by Isabelle Kramer is a perfect first stranded colorwork sweater. It's got this very simple yoke with a very clear pattern that you're going to be able to follow easily, and it is a worsted weight yarn. You could also go into something more like the Tundra by the Petite Knitter. That one has multiple colors, but it is in an Aran weight yarn, which makes it go fast, and it is a beautiful Nordic style yoke sweater, and it also has a little bit on the cuffs and the bottom of the sweater, which is fun because once you're done knitting all the stockinette, you still have this exciting little bit of color work to do. I will put in my honorable mentions the Radari sweater, but beware, it is in my honorary mentions because it does have a few rows that have 3 colors, which is not that simple, but if that's really the look you're going for, that one is absolutely a classic. That one I was wearing in the first video I did about stranded knitting, and everybody was asking the question, where did you get this pattern? What is it? It's the Radari. It is a unisex pattern, so I did have to do a little bit of fiddling around to make sure that it was going to fit me because I'm very petite. That being said, it is such a fun color work to do. It is knit bottom up, so for people that are a little bit intimidated by that, it is to be noted, but I really, really enjoy wearing it, and I thought it was a great color work sweater. Then, if you liked the Tundra sweater, but you think it might be a little bit too much, you could go for the Tundra hat, again by the Petite Knitter. A hat version of a sweater is a great way to get to know the pattern, to get to know the feeling of the yarn you're going to be using, and it kind of works as a swatch. So whenever there are sweater patterns that also have a hat pattern in the same gauge, it is a really smart idea to knit the hat before knitting the sweater, so then you don't have to do a boring swatch. I absolutely love cowls for color work because generally they are a tube and it's very easy to keep a good tension. So something like a Frame Your Face cowl by Andrea Mowry is great because instead of being worked from the bottom up or the top down, it is actually worked as a tube like that, and you work a long tube, you connect it together, and then you put it around your neck. So obviously it wouldn't be as thick as it wouldn't be a tube as big as this one. It's a smaller tube, but then you understand what I mean. So those types of cowls, like this, right? But super long and you connect it. Those types of cowls are really great to work on your stranded color work. The beauty is you'll never see the inside. So if your inside is messy, who cares? That one is made out of worsted weight yarn again, so it is quite a quick project. Then there is the entire Chalet collection by Diana Walla. It is a free collection that includes the Stoneham poncho, the Tremblant toque, the Bromont mitts, and the Sutton slipper, and also the Massif scarf. All those names come from mountains, ski mountains in Quebec. Diana Walla is an amazing designer for color work, and I think that all those charts would be quite easy to knit, and they are all free, so it's a great way to dabble into it. That makes me think I want to knit that matching hat and mitts. Should I? I think I should. Those charts, again, only ever use 2 colors at a time, even though there are generally 3 colors or maybe 4 in the patterns. They are so easy to knit because they're a very recognizable geometric pattern. I've knitted the poncho and I've knitted the slippers, and both of them were so much fun to knit. And then because everybody loves to knit a sock, anyway, I love to knit a sock, you could be knitting the Maisie socks by Summer Lee. Summer Lee has a ton of beautiful sock projects, but I think that the Maisie ones are really fun because they again have only a little portion of it that is color work at the top of the leg, and then it is a very simple chevron / diamond shapes. You're going to be able to use any little bits of scrap yarn you have left over to knit those chevrons because they're very small, and once you're done knitting that cuff, you're good to go for the rest of the sock without any stranded color work. So those were my suggestions for easy color work patterns to start with. Do you have color work patterns that you particularly love to knit? You can put them in the comments for everybody else to build their own list. Or have you knit any of the ones that I suggested? I'm curious to know. Well, I'm gonna go get some sun in because clearly the sun wants me to enjoy it instead of filming right now. So I'll see you again very soon, and thanks again to Craftsy for sponsoring this video. If you still want to know more about stranded color work, obviously I have some more videos right here if you haven't seen them, and let me know if there are other techniques that you would like to have this kind of video for. Have a great day. Happy knitting!